So this is going to be my quick overview of the Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 2.0. I already have the Ruger LCP Max, but we're not going to be talking about it in this video. We're just going to be going over the basic features of the Bodyguard, my brief experience with it, and what I believe it has to offer, and what I can give you insight on my experience with it, and if it's going to be the right purchase for you. So this is the box it comes in. Basic, simple cardboard box. Comes with the gun, of course. Comes with manuals, paperwork for registering it. Got a lock, 12 round mag, base plate extension, and the gun, the Bodyguard 2.0. Comes with a 10 round magazine. Go to chamber indicator, front and rear, orange tritium front sight, and serrated rear, front rear serrations, flat trigger, and take down lever, magazine release. This is in particular the one with the safety on it. Magazine release that you could have on both sides, switch back and forth. This is the slide release. What I found with this is when you're racking the slide, the controls on the Bodyguard when you initially get it is going to be quite stiff compared to any other full-size handgun, but I'm assuming how tight it is mainly due to the magazine design, as well as the design aspects of making it such a compact pistol for the round, the 380 round, that it makes a lot of parts very tight. Now, after having it for about a week, I will say that the controls are much easier to actuate. In particular, the safety, the racking the slide. Before, it would be a pain to insert the mag, rack the slide, or actuate the safety, but after having it for a week where I would break it in, just racking it or manipulating the safety, actuating this magazine release, it's become quite usable. I can now actuate the safety with one thumb sweep. Before, when I initially got it, it was quite difficult where I would need to use two fingers to actuate it and disengage it. It would be almost so quite difficult where I would actually develop calluses on my hands just from racking it or actuating the safety, just because it was very difficult to actuate. The trigger on this in particular, the very light trigger. That's what I like about it, is that compared to the LCP Max, it's got a very clean trigger break and a very short reset. Not as good as some other pistols like the PDP by Walther, but that is a full-size pistol that people have said that its trigger is the best in its class. This is right up there. I feel very comfortable with it. Reset, break. I would say this is a 4.5 pound trigger pull. Very good for what it is. 10 round magazine. And what sticks out to me in particular with the Bodyguard 2.0 is just everything as a package. The trigger, flat face, but that's not really important to me. It's how clean it breaks. Very clean break where I don't have to wonder where it's going to actually click. The beaver tail, the undercut, full purchase, riding up all the way up there, where I'm able to have my hand fill out the pistol up against the bore. So the bore axis, what I found, and you can see on a website like Handgun Hero, compared to other pistols, I haven't found another handgun 9mm or 380 that has a lower bore axis than the Bodyguard 2.0. So you can see with the hand, if you notice with most handguns, this line right here where trigger starts and the beaver tail. Most guns, their slide and barrel are way up here, like a SIG P226 or a Glock. The barrels are going to be right up here. The Bodyguard 2.0 barrel right here, and this is your hand right here. Very low bore axis, where you're able to just completely be right up against it. I like the fact that it comes with 2 magazines. Really good trigger. And what I like in particular with the Bodyguard 2.0 is the fact that when I point this, anywhere I point it, instinctively, I don't have to fish around and try to find and realign the rear sight to match with the front sight to get proper sight alignment. That's what I noticed immediately about this, even compared to full-size handguns, is how pointable it is. Anywhere I point, I present the handgun to the target, it's already aligned up. Maybe it's just very good with my body physiology, but what I found is that this handgun is so pointable instinctively compared to any other handgun, including full-size 9mm, that people say would be the best in their class. This, to me, outclasses those, where I would feel comfortable choosing this over a full-size handgun, 9mm. Like a Glock, HK, or Walther, I would choose this over any of them, just because of its bore axis, trigger, combination of the two, as well as how, most importantly, pointable it is. Now, your mileage may vary with other handguns, but for me, when I point it, it's already lined up. On camera, it's a little bit more difficult to get it lined up because the camera is not exactly where my eye would be, but for myself, when I point it, even when I close my eyes, unloaded of course, anywhere I point, it's already lined up. When I open my eyes, that's how I would instinctively be able to assess how good and pointable it is. When I point this, I can close my eyes, point it in any direction, unload it of course, and the sights are already aligned. That speaks volumes to me, especially for the philosophy of what this intended role that I have for this pistol, or just a pistol as a civilian that I would carry every single day. That role would be close quarters, within 10 yards. Even then, the type of scenarios that a person might employ a pistol as a civilian would be within shouting distance, because think about it, gas stations, any scenarios where there's a bad guy, as a civilian where you're in plain clothes, you're most likely going to be within talking distance. No one's going to be instigating events for the most part. For my scenarios, I see myself most likely coming in contact with. I'm not going to have to use a handgun for the primary employment up to 50 yards. That's just not the intended role I see myself using a handgun. If you see yourself using it like that, a handgun for situations like that, then I would suggest a larger handgun, like a 9mm, just simply because you get more velocity, just so you can make the longer shots. If you're a cop, if your primary occupation is where you require a handgun as a pistol where you can wear it outside the waistband, by all means. That's not me. This is intended for inside the waistband deep concealment. When I don't need it, it's concealed. And when I do need it, I need it to be very pointable within 10 yards. If you want to use a different handgun for home defense, perfectly capable of doing so, but for myself, with the features that it comes with, 12-round mag, 10-round mag, how pointable it is, the trigger, the bore axis, the caliber, getting the minimum 12 inches penetration with certain rounds, like federal HSTs for hollow point ammunition. That meets all my standards I have for a pistol for home defense, for everyday carry, for anything really. And with my philosophy of keeping things simple, I try not to have too many handguns where I wouldn't want them to fulfill multiple roles if I can get away with it. And this, to me, fulfills multiple roles because I can get a full purchase. I can aim it very fast. The recoil and the trigger, everything about it, to me, tells me it's a complete package where I wouldn't need any other handgun for any other purpose. And if I did need something more larger than this, I'm most likely going to be reaching for something like a much larger firearm, like a rifle or something like that. Because most rounds, if they're under 2,200 feet per second, they will not create hydrostatic shock. For the most part, lethality in handguns generally suck. There was an actual study where it looked over thousands of incidences of shootings in the United States, and it found that handguns, for the most part, from 380, 40, 9mm, 45, they have the same amount of stoppages of one shot stops, as in handguns they do not get the required one shot stop for most situations over the course of thousands of shootings in this study. And to me, the minimum caliber I would want to use would be a 380 because it gets a minimum penetration of 12 inches. But for the most part, you get a lot more benefit with the added benefit of lower recoil, thinness, and size. And for me, in my applications, this fulfills every single role I would ever need it to. And so my thoughts of the Bodyguard is run out of the park. I will say that there are some issues with the Bodyguard, with it being how stiff it is. That's just natural. So what I've encountered with the Ruger LCP Max was when I first got the Ruger LCP Max, it was quite difficult to engage as well. Whether it be the magazine release, rack and slide, and everything about it with the Ruger, with these small 380s, that it took some time to actually break them in. So when people talk about how difficult it is to break it in, it's just what it just comes with a very tight tolerance, and it does break in. So those are my thoughts with the Bodyguard. And for this right now, its MSRP is around 400. I haven't really been able to find it in stores, but if you order online, you should be able to get it within about a week or so with the shipping. And those are my thoughts with the Bodyguard. I think that you would be very well served, and it would be an upgrade to a lot of things because it fulfills a role that is going to be something that most people need, rather than using it as a piece, a handgun, where you're only carrying it maybe 2 times a month. With this, I can carry it every single day, and that's probably the most important thing, is that you can carry this every single day. Where it matters is having a handgun that you can use, rather than not having a handgun and not being able to use at all. If you'd like to have some updates, feel free to subscribe, make a comment, give me some updates on your experience with the Bodyguard, or just your experience with 380s in general. 380s in general. For the most part, loading the mag can be quite difficult, but if you have a mag loader, it's not any more difficult than any other pocket 380s like a Ruger LCP Max. So those are my thoughts. I know some people have had issues with the magazine. That's not been my case. I've stripped it and disassembled it. It works as intended, where I can reassemble it just fine. So I haven't had any issues with any of that. So those are my thoughts. Please comment, share if you liked it, subscribe for more updates. Thank you. Have a pleasant evening.